I'd like to call to order the January 17th meeting in 2023 of the Hammond Plan Commission. Would you all rise and join with me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Mr. Hammond, will you lead us?
Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Item 2 is the roll call. Mrs. Morris-Smith, would you please call the roll?
Roger Brock.
Here.
Dean Button.
Here.
Michael Dye. Here. Ann Herbert. Here. William Hutton.
Here.
Thomas Kazmierzak.
Here.
Dan Spitali.
Yes.
Sharon Zaney. Here. Marcus Taylor.
Here.
9 present. We have a quorum.
Sounds like everyone's here. Awesome. Item 3 on our agenda today, since it's our first meeting in January, is the election of officers for 2023. At this time, we will open up for the election for officers. The chair would entertain a motion for the president of the Plan Commission.
Mr. President, I'd like to nominate Dean Button.
Thank you, Mr. Hutton. Thank you, Councilman Spitali. Is there any other nominations for president? Any other nominations? Okay, nominations for president are currently closed. I'm happy to serve that role. We'll get back. Is it appropriate, Mr. Attorney, to go ahead and do that, or should we fill the slate and then call for a roll call?
Either way you want to do it.
Okay, we'll fill the slate. Next on the agenda for election of officers would be the nomination for vice president. Is there any nomination for vice president?
Mr. President, I'd like to nominate William Hutton.
Commissioner Kazmierzak recommends or nominates Mr. Hutton.
I second.
Seconded by Commissioner Zaney. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any other nominations for vice president? Any other nominations? Mr. Hutton, are you okay with perhaps assuming that position if you're so elected?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. Is there any other positions to fill at this time, Mr. Poland? You want to do that now too? Okay, wonderful. So the other item is to appoint a member of the Plan Commission to the BZA for 2023. Is there a motion for that?
Mr. President,
Commissioner Brock.
I'd like to nominate Mr. Hutton for the BZA.
Mr. Hutton, is there a second to second? Mr. Hutton, would you be willing to serve on that board?
I accept that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there any other nominations, though, for appointment to the Plan Commission? Any other nominations? Hearing none, the slate of officers has been determined to present to this commission. President being Dean Button, Vice President William Hutton, and appointment to the Plan Commission to the BZA for 2023 is also Mr. William Hutton. Being that there are no other nominations, the chair would ask for a motion to vote, to call for the vote.
Move to vote.
Move to vote. Is there a second?
I second.
Moved by Commissioner Kazmierzak, seconded by Commissioner Zaney to vote. So call for vote. Mrs. Morris-Smith, will you please call the vote?
Roger Brock.
Yes.
Michael Dye. Ann Herbert. Yes. William Hutton.
Yes.
Thomas Kazmierzak.
Yes.
Dan Spitali.
Yes.
Sharon Zaney. Yes. Marcus Taylor.
Yes.
Dean Button.
Yes.
9 ayes, 0 nays. Motion passed.
Congratulations to the recipients of this great award, Mr. Hutton.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is the board. You should have received, let's see, make sure we got this, not available. Okay, so move to, I guess this board prefers to move to table the minutes for the meeting of December 19th. Is there such a motion?
Move to table.
I second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Kazmierzak, seconded by Commissioner Taylor. Is that right?
Yes.
Commissioner Taylor, to table the meeting minutes for December 19th. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Roll call on the motion.
Roger Brock?
Yes.
Michael Dye? Ann Herbert? William Hutton?
Yes.
Thomas Kazimierzak?
Yes.
Dan Spitali? Sharon Zany? Marcus Taylor?
Yes.
Dean Button?
Yes.
9 ayes, 0 nays, motion passed.
Thank you, Mrs. Morse-Smith. Next item on the agenda is old business. Any old business for the commission?
No old business.
Thank you. Item 6 is new business. That would be CP 23-01, a petition of Luke Land 2 LLC for final development plan approval in a PUD planned unit development district located at 1035 Fifth Avenue within the city of Hammond, Lake County, Indiana. And I would ask Mrs. Morse-Smith if the public notification requirements for this petition have been met.
Yes, they have.
Thank you very much. The petitioner is Luke Land 2 LLC. I see Mr. Tersman is here to make a presentation. Would you please present your petition to the commission?
Yes, thank you. Good evening. My name is Dan Tersman. I am here on behalf of Luke Land 2. We are asking for approval of the final development plan for, what's the address, 1035 Fifth Avenue. This is in the Marina District Development PUD, and as part of the protocol for a PUD is to present final development plan. So this is the lot 2 of that development. And what we are proposing is construction of a approximately 10,000 square foot retail building that would serve as a retail building for a single standalone tenant. With the package that we've presented, we've included the proposed site plans, architectural renderings and drawings, and information about the proposed project. This is something that we would like to put into process. Given your blessing on moving forward, we would like to start this project in the spring to bring the user online before the end of the year. I believe everything that was presented is in keeping with the design guidelines and requirements of the PUD, and so there's no needs for any types of variances or anything like that. This is just simply conformance with the PUD development plan approval.
Thank you, Mr. Tersman. Questions from the commissioners to the petitioner? Quick question, the area, is this the final lot that's within the POD?
Yes, this is the final vacant lot that was part of that development, yes.
Wonderful. Great news. So certainly a excellent development for the city, so thank you, Mr. Tersman. Any other questions? Okay, thank you. At this time, we will just open it up for a public hearing. See if anyone in the public wishes to comment on behalf of this petition. So I'll open up a public hearing. If there's anyone in the audience wishing to speak in favor of this petition? Anyone in the audience wishing to speak in opposition to this petition? Anyone wishing to make a comment on this petition? Anyone online from the public wishing to make a comment on this petition? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing portion of this meeting. Assume there's nothing further from you, Mr. Tersman, at this time. Thank you. We'll now hear from staff on the petition. Mr. Poland.
It has been a multi-year journey to look at this development from the original creation of the planned unit development district guidelines, the ordinance, and I think we're all happy to see that this development has reached this point, and by all measures, it seems that even though there may be a few vacancies, but most of the development is pretty active and has done a great transformation of the area and enhanced and coordinated with the Walmart development that is very prominent in this area. I do want to make a comment for the record that there has been a lot of discussion back and forth with the design of the building as well as the orientation of the main entrance. And the staff expressed a lot of concern about the orientation facing to the southwest as opposed to facing directly out to Fifth Avenue. And we appreciate the fact of the reasons why the developer has oriented that building, and in short, it was pretty much the request of the tenant. And even with that, the angular orientation is an improvement upon what they originally wanted as to be directly facing the Ross development that's to the south. One of the things that we appreciate in the accomplishment of the developer, looking at the staff's concerns, was that there was a secondary entrance that was added to the facade that faces Fifth Avenue. And we think this is very important in having that customer interaction facing the street. We appreciate the fact that the architectural treatments of that northwest corner that faces into the basically the intersection of Roby Drive and Fifth Avenue, that is a little bit higher architectural detail than what was originally just shown to us. And if everybody would just look at the elevations that are attached in the packet. The first elevation is showing the facade, or the corner of the facades that faces towards the Walmart. You will see that there are entrance doors right near that corner facing the primary parking lot is the one that was added on the left of the drawing. And we find that to be a very important detail. If you look at the second elevation, this is the elevation that faces what someone will see coming through that intersection of Roby Drive and Fifth Avenue. The pediment, or the cornice, raised cornice detail, the pilasters, the change in materials that's consistent with the other facades is a very important detail that that staff feels helps deal with the fact that the building, perhaps our wishes have always been to have the building oriented differently. Part of the other things that in the early versions is the moving of the dumpster. It's now on the side that faces the Casino Drive overpass. It was originally located at the where the 4 parking spaces are located at the north end of the building. The interior arrangement was designed so that the service areas are facing also the casino overpass. You can see the door symbol that is on that side because that was originally located on the facade that faces the intersection. So we feel that that the developer has worked with us to try and address the staff's concerns. So those are kind of my general comments. Then I'll switch over to my staff report. And just so everybody to understand that when we look at final development plans in a PUD, the ordinance specifies very specific criteria that need to be addressed. And I see that I forgot to change something. When it says the analysis, it should be for the final plan, and it's actually 16.51. I forgot to change that. But in going through the criteria of A through H, it's just really talking about that the development, looking at the development in its final form, does it comply with what was in the preliminary plan or not? And when it comes to coordination and or general compliance with the PUD regulations, the pedestrian access, the vehicular access, the parking locations and quantities, and E, most importantly, is talking about the elevations, the major treatments, all of those things that my opening comments were trying to address. The landscaping requirements are met, the parking requirements are met, the utilities are already in place. So it is, obviously as being the last development, all of those things that go, or the last site to be developed in the area, all of those underground systems are already in place. And so just jumping down to the recommendation, we still, technically, we have the final engineering details are still pending. Staff recommends the Plan Commission grant final development plan approval subject to this technical review. And if the Plan Commission agrees with the recommendation, staff requests that this report as amended be adopted by the Plan Commission as preliminary findings of fact.
Thank you, Mr. Poland. Questions from the commissioners to Mr. Poland?
Mr. President.
Oh, Mr. Hutton, please.
Thank you. I do have two questions, Mr. Poland. Did I miss something? The primary entrance to this building is located in the southwest corner. Is that correct?
Well, I guess realistically, with both the entrances there, they're both serving as primary, or I don't know if one's technically secondary, but when you look, I know we did not attach the floor plan, but when you look at the floor plan, that's, if you look at a retail store, that's clearly where you're going into. I'm not exactly sure where the cash registers are. I think they're to the right.
They're across that front, right?
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
there.
So it is, from that standpoint, both doors function as kind of a primary entrance in a lot of respects. Like the plumbing, the bathrooms, all those storage rooms, those service areas, they're located on that eastern facade that faces the overpass, as opposed to being on the northern facade. And so in my mind, and as one of the conversations I had with Mr. Tersman, that let's just say at some point in time that this building has a different tenant or has two tenants in it, that theoretically with that pedimented or the cornice detail that is on that western facade, they could open up another entrance, and so it would have both entrances facing Fifth Avenue.
Thank you. My other question is, when we look at the renderings, on the second rendering, my question is, are these overhead doors that we're looking at with the horizontal slats on them?
No, those are, it's an architectural detail, so again, it's essentially like a cement board siding used on several of the other buildings out there as well, so it's just an architectural detail to give some variation in building materials.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hutton. Any other questions from the commissioners to staff? Hearing none, the chair would entertain a motion that the Plan Commission grant final development plan approval, subject to final technical review. Is there such a motion? Thank you, Commissioner Zaney. Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you, Commissioner Taylor. It's been moved and properly seconded to recommend that the Plan Commission grant final development plan approval for the subject petition. Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Roll call on the motion.
Roger Brock.
Yes.
Michael Dye. Ann Herbert. William Hutton.
Yes.
Thomas Kazmierzak.
Yes.
Dan Spitali. Sharon Zaney. Marcus Taylor.
Yes.
Dean Button.
Yes.
9 ayes, 0 nays, 0 abstentions, motion passed.
The Chair would also entertain a motion to accept the staff report be adopted by the Plan Commission as a preliminary finding of fact.
I'll make that motion.
As amended.
I beg your pardon, as amended.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Taylor. Does your second remain, Commissioner Herbert? Yes. Thank you kindly. It's been moved and properly seconded to adopt the staff report as a preliminary finding of fact as amended. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Roll call on the motion.
Roger Brock.
Yes.
Michael Dye. Ann Herbert. William Hutton.
Yes.
Thomas Kazmierzak.
Yes.
Dan Spitali. Sharon Zaney. Marcus Taylor.
Yes.
Dean Button.
Yes.
9 ayes, 0 nays, 0 abstentions, motion passed.
Congratulations, Mr. Tersman.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So ends new business. Item 6 is correspondence.
No correspondence.
Thank you. Item 7 is commissioner comments. Anyone? No? I know seeing none. Staff comments would be number 8.
Yeah, I wanted to talk to the Plan Commission about something that happened at a recent Mayor's Night Out. We had a gentleman by the name of Dave Pustek make some comments at the Mayor's Night Out. Those of you that were here at the last meeting, Mr. Pustek was here as a remonstrator for the rezoning at 2512 New York Avenue. And even at that time, he expressed concerns about the notification requirements that the Plan Commission has, concerns about not getting notification, in his mind, quick enough. So he also had brought this point up at the Mayor's Night Out. He was making comments about perhaps we should consider sending out our notifications earlier. He talked about increasing our notification area from the 300 feet to 500 feet to 1,000 feet. And even though staff had tried to address his concerns at the Plan Commission level, when he brought that up, he had, I guess, subsequently went to the City Council. And I don't know what happened at the City Council. How did you guys address that?
Everything was well, went through. We had no problems
No problems in what sense?
with, first we didn't know how many acreage there was going on, how much was there?
How much? I'm having a hard time hearing you. Can you use your
Acreage, how
microphone?
much was that? We didn't find that out
The acres of,
for what you were doing at the school, at the college that you were at, right?
yes, so I'm just having a hard time hearing you, Dan.
Oh, okay. You had it in footage, remember what I'm talking about? I asked them in that last meeting, didn't I?
Yeah, oh yeah.
I asked how much land that they were dealing with. This gentleman came in because he was complaining about it. And there wasn't really thing in line with that, with when we talked to them about it. So that's what we were wondering.
So I think
How much is it?
the large, and I don't know off the top of my head.
The property-
But the larger issue is the notification requirements. Did the gentleman come to the council meeting and complain about the Plan Commission's notification requirements and how
No, he
he?
didn't say anything bad
he only was there to remonstrate against the action.
Okay.
So the larger issue for this board, I think that Brian's driving at, is he came to Mayor's Night Out and made issues about the statutory requirements that we follow in order to notify him.
He complained to us, though.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank you
I
for
just wanted to
clarity.
understand that. Okay.
Thank you.
Because he gave the impression at Mayor's Night Out that he went to the city council and expressed his concerns, and they were not adequately addressed by the city council. So therefore, he felt compelled to bring it to the attention of the mayor at the Mayor's Night Out. So, Dave, if I have a question for you, we all know that the statute says that the notifications are 10 days before the meeting, and it is the procedural discretion of the commission as to identifying what the notification area is, the 300 feet, so to speak. In the other communities that you work with, Dave, is there a commonality in how notifications are done? You know, whether it's 300 feet, whether it's certified mail. Can you comment on that?
I wish I would have known, I would have pulled this statute. So the planning commission is not, in my opinion, with all due respect, the appropriate body to change. You can always make the notification requirements more stringent, right, or make the petitioner provide a longer period of time in the notification. 300 feet is still, I have to look at the statute. I thought the statute was 150 feet, but I'll take your word for the 300 feet. I don't think anyone is larger than that I represent. In the 10 days, you know, by ordinance, the city council could, by ordinance, provide for a longer period of time, but again, none of the communities that I represent do that. I mean, we are consistent across the board with every municipality. You know, some have an additional requirement of placing a sign on the property that notifies the upcoming BZA or planning commission hearing, but again, that would have to be changed by ordinance.
Yeah, so Mr. Pustek's comments were also expressing his concerns about how mail delivery is slowing down. And perhaps many of us have kind of intuitively recognized that with the timing of delivery. And I speak personally as far as mailing your bills back, that we sometimes are facing that there are some delivery issues, and you can follow the news enough to know that there's a lot of concerns across the country about delivery. So that,
Doesn't your ordinance say, and I have to look at it, yeah, but doesn't it say something, I'm going to tell it from memory, something along the lines of, it's 10 days if it's mailed in Lake County, but there's an additional period of time mailed outside of Lake County?
it is not in the ordinance, it is in the procedural documents for subdivisions or in rezonings, that if the mail is mailed outside of Lake County, the comments about that is, and this is also somewhat related to what Mr. Pustek stated, is that if you're mailing anywhere in the greater Northwest Indiana region, as well as the southwestern suburbs, the main distribution center is what they call the South Suburban Distribution Center. I don't know exactly which community that's in, but if you ever looked at your postmarks, is that it's always saying South Suburban. Our mail used to go through the distribution center in Gary, and that's been closed for, I don't know, 15 years at this point. So unless you're, like if you're mailing from South Bend, you know, that is going into a different distribution center, and we have a couple of petitioners that their engineers' offices are in South Bend. And so that's where that 13-day rule of outside of Lake County becomes much more important.
Yeah, I guess I would say, number one, that our procedure complies with the statute. And the state legislature has not seen fit to change it, increase the time, anything like that. But it would be a policy decision as to whether or not the council thought that a more stringent requirement should be imposed, and I would say that they're the body that should consider that after, up to our city council, and sitting there for that earlier, but, I suppose the plan is to make a recommendation if it felt strongly one way or another, but,
Yeah, so one of the things that the staff did is that we looked at, I think it was like about 6 cases from last year. Some of them were where the Plan Commission was the petitioner on behalf of the different city bodies. Some of them were privately sent out. And what the results are pretty interesting in the sense that from a statistical average of what we see from postmark to when the green card is signed, that the average time period is ranging anywhere from 3 to 8 days from postmark. Within that, you're going to have examples of some deliveries taking upwards of beyond 20 days, some on 11 plus days. What we don't know is the factor that we can't control. We can't control the factor of when the person picked up the certified mail as to when they signed it. So those of you, I'm sure, understand that the mail delivery person with the green cards, they have to have a person sign it. Most people are not home during the day to receive their mail, and they will get a notice in their box for them to go to the post office to pick it up. So that adds time into what the person who signs the card and then getting back to us. We can't control that as to when a person chooses. But when we're looking at these numbers and we're seeing the vast majority of people are getting it within 3 to 4 days of postmark, I think that is a good indication that it's not a significant problem. It is more of those unknown I'm making an assumption, unknown factors of someone who may not be able to pick their mail up on a regular basis, for whatever their reasons are. So I wanted to just bring this to everybody's attention to see if there is any thoughts, reactions as to is it something we want to try and change, or do we just want to keep it the status quo?
Mr. President.
Mr. Hutton.
Thank you. I'm thinking status quo has served this department well, has served the city well over the course of time. I don't see a need to make any changes. The second thing, Brian, is you're right. You can't control, or you don't know that variable from the time that that notice was dropped off at somebody's residence and they had to go to the post office to sign that green card. But what you do know is the neighbor next door. So you know when that notice was delivered, okay? So the fact that somebody received that notice and they opted not to, one reason or another, to go to the post office we can't control that. That's their issue.
Right.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Hutton. Any other comments from commissioners? So, if I may, I heard some other thing. First of all, Mr. Poland, I couldn't be happier that you brought this subject up because it, as was mentioned, right, this has come to us by the gentleman. It's escalating, and we need to figure out what we're going to do about this. I would say that during Mayor's Night Out, I heard the gentleman say additional things that I don't know if it's true or not true. But he made the claim that postal carriers will only carry, in light of what's happened with the pandemic and other things, postal carriers are given certain limitations on what they can do, and that's not something this board can control. If the Postal Service says you can only carry 5 green cards to the door every day because we're trying to limit your exposure, that's a decision that's made by the Postal Service, and that, in my opinion, this is a subject that needs to be taken to a much higher level, and that is the state government to sort of regulate this effort. Right? We are doing, I couldn't agree more with Mr. Hutton, we are doing what we are required statutorily, in my opinion. Not a lawyer, so I shouldn't be interpreting the law, but if we're doing everything that we're required to do or more, and in this case, I was told that this particular correspondence was sent at 12 days prior to the meeting, right? So we are doing everything we can to meet compliance with the regulation that we can't control what other outside bodies do. I'm sympathetic to the public because that's our duty, is to inform the public that the change is being made and that it is affecting them in some significant way, and that we should make every effort to make sure that the public is aware, to give them an opportunity to talk and provide input to these important decisions. And so I'm not sure if we should direct our attorney or request our attorney to further review and report if there's anything that could be done to improve notification based upon the gentleman's complaint that they're not getting notifications on time. Mr. Hutton, I see you have a comment.
I do. Thank you. Well taken. My question to you, Mr. Button, is you mentioned COVID and that the mail carriers were only allowed to carry 5 green cards.
This is the gentleman's comment, right?
Well, that's it. That's not you.
He made comments at Mayor's Night Out to things that he could only, that I had no way to confirm or deny.
Sure.
They only carry 5 cards. They only do certain, he repeated a number of things, and we could probably roll back the tape of Mayor's Night Out to hear exactly what he said. Those sorts of things we can't control, but go ahead.
Thank you for clarifying that. If in fact that is true, 5 cards, COVID, interaction face-to-face with people, is that still in effect today, or are mail carriers still doing that today because they like it? Only 5 cards, that's all I got to do.
Well, and I don't think we can answer that question, but I do want to point out, and I'm just looking at one of the cases, I don't know the truth of the statement that the person made. I can only look at the numbers that we generated. And case number 2204, there are 7 certified letters that came back exactly in 3 days. So if someone is carrying 5, that's what the allegation was stated, well, here's 7. So I don't think there's much, I don't think we can, the evidence is not backing up that as being an accurate statement.
Well, and I'm not here to argue. I would say that is it worth calling the Postal Service and asking what their position is? Or is this really, truly, this is a state legislative action, right? If we're in compliance with the law, or there's something in the law that allows us to be more open to the public, then we should be doing that, right? not, maybe we shouldn't be calling the Postal Service and figuring out, because it's not our problem to solve. As long as we're meeting the confines of the law, there's nothing more we should do.
I would say, I don't mean to cut off anybody else's comments, but I just want to say that my conclusion of all of this is I'm not seeing, I mean, there are some aberrations in these green cards coming back. They're not all coming back exactly the same time, and we don't know necessarily the reasons why. But I'm not seeing from the preponderance of what I'm seeing here that there is a significant problem as the person made the statement. It looks like the mail is getting to the people within the time frame. The other thing that you need to remember is that this is notifying people of a meeting, and that in our notification, they can send an email to us, they can call us, and we've have documentation from other cases of when we do get the calls, we note that in the record, and that we have sent out our information electronically to a couple of people, and I think even in this particular case, Shanna did send it to him before the meeting, because he did email us before the last Plan Commission meeting. So we are if there is an issue with late notification or the perception of late notification, there are other means to get the information to the people should they take the effort to contact us, and it would be my opinion that would be their responsibility. We just have to notify people. There's still the legal notice. I think, a lot of people today are not necessarily, taking a newspaper, and they're not seeing the legal notices. That's a bigger issue beyond us as to how people interact with the news media. It is on our website that the meeting is coming up, so we are getting it that way. The one thing that I think we might want to explore, and that's one reason I'll talk to Dave further offline on this, but it is, is it something that we want to do signs on the property? I've been in my travels, I've seen this in other communities where they've done that, and I'm the type of geek that'll actually take the time to read the notice that what's happening in somebody else's community, but I think that's something that I would consider exploring. And but as far as I'm going to say the other alternative to certified mailing is certificate of mailing. And even though the names are similar, the slight difference or the main difference between them is that the certificate of mailing is documentation of when the letter hit the mail stream. It's not going to tell us when it got delivered, but it is when it hit the mail stream. And I know I've had conversations over the last couple of years with some other planners throughout the state, and some of them are choosing to go that option. It presents a couple of logistical issues on how certificate of mailing is handled. We have to go into the USPS website to look at things, and so it adds a whole different component from a staff level, as opposed to just collecting a green card when they get delivered back to us. But I'm not, at this time, I'm not seeing a significant problem. That being said, we can certainly monitor it for this year again and just kind of maybe make a reassessment by the end of the year. I don't know.
I think we should hold this conversation over till the next meeting, and
How about in 6 months?
no, I mean, this is an important topical discussion. I think are you raising your hand, Dave?
Yes, the only thing I would add is that, while they only have slowed down, the ability to attend meetings has gotten significantly easier since COVID hit, and the governor and the state legislature passed legislation that allowed people to appear via Zoom and electronic
I think we should have you look at, give us a sort of a summary at the next meeting. I think there's some more things to talk about. I don't think we're going to solve this evening. So I'd ask that we put a pin in it and add it to our agenda for next meeting. Is that all right with the commissioners? Thank you very much. Thank you for your opinion. Mr. Westland, as always, appreciate any other staff comments. Mr. Poland.
We will be having a February meeting, and it is on the Tuesday after President's Day, 6 o'clock,
Thank you.
which is I believe it's the 21st.
If there's no other staff comments, the meeting's open to the public. Anyone in the audience wishing to address the Plan Commission? Anyone in the audience? Anyone on Zoom? I'm seeing none. As Mr. Poland said, the date of the next meeting, so I don't need to repeat that. Chair would entertain a motion for adjournment.
Move to adjourn.
It's been moved by Commissioner Zaney, seconded by
Second.
Commissioner Kazmierzak to adjourn the meeting. If there isn't any further discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries. We're adjourned. Thank you.